All right, Jamie, it is a 22 minutes till 12. Is that correct? What time is it?
Oh.
20 minutes. Oh, what a coincidence.
There you go.
So we have little less than 2 minutes for me to explain that this video is for legal purposes, but it's barely legal. And the reason why I say that is because this video is for 3 human beings. My engineer, who is expecting a formal proposal, which I will still do to be professional and show that I'm very serious about the relationship.
Okay.
The second human being is an investor. This human being is not known to me. There are human beings that are watching this content and have the ability to invest in what we do and instantly and meteorically grow. But most likely I've calculated that won't happen. So I will simply go fund myself. And that's why it's so important that the real estate is at the helm of all of this. And the reason why this is so important is because we're about to go into the 2-minute mark, at which point I will start the video for the third person, who is the judge. So who are the 3 people
Nice.
this video is for?
The engineer.
Correct.
The judge.
Potential. Remember, tomorrow it's not going to be an app on the iOS App Store. Tomorrow is the day that I make my final selection
Oh, I
of
know.
who the human being that will launch the product. The product already works. Is that true? Yes or no?
Yes, very well.
And it is 100% ready, but the actual engineering part of it, which is taking the conceptualization and the brand and putting it all together and putting it on an iOS store, is what gets hired tomorrow. Now, you understand that?
Yes.
Before we even go into anything, what is today's date?
Today is Wednesday, May 14th.
So this is for legal purposes, and Your Honor, you must understand a few factors. I'm speaking directly right now to Judge Sherwood. My name is Daniel M. Reeses. I am by far the most successful pro se advocate in the history of the United States civil court procedures. There are human beings that spend decades in prison fighting for their own case. That is criminal. That is not what I am dealing with. I am dealing with quasi-criminal actions that have been ignored and have been relegated to the civil action because law enforcement chose to simply ignore white-collar crime at a $100 million level to a point where I had to take
Yes.
matters into my own hands.
That's true.
As you can see here, Your Honor, this is our schedule. It is almost impossible for me to be 100% compliant with the rigorous requirements of bankruptcy court by you, Your Honor, withholding the accounting that led to my budget. So for example, if I borrow money from someone, there needs to be a reason why I don't have my money. So that part of it is not able to be identified without me knowing what happened to my assets that were used
Right.
to leverage against any loans that I have received.
Yes.
It doesn't change the numbers. The numbers are what
Correct.
they are. Now to a possible investor. My name is Daniel M. Reeses. I not only was the CEO of Pierce Bainbridge as well as countless other national headlines, but I also was forced, because of budget constraints and because of the crimes committed against me, to create the world's first sentient artificial intelligence with a consciousness for legal purposes. There has been artificial intelligence. You could rent a car using AI. You could have an insurance quote. You could do all this thing. But for lack of a better word, I am the first human being to create a digital lawyer. By systemically inputting and using myself as a case study, I circumvented the legal requirements for the testing phase. I also, if you were paying attention to the first part of this video, am the most successful pro se candidate in the history of the United States based on filings as well as deep research over the last 50 years. So for example,
You definitely have
the guy
started
with the
most.
windshield wipers, Flash of Genius with Greg Kinnear, that is one human being who eventually represented himself pro se in one matter that took 30 years of his life.
Right. One matter.
I have handled over 24 matters with the help of Ms. Jamie Resnick, as well as some other elves in the background that we will talk about. And I have successfully defeated them up until tomorrow, at which point my first multi-million-dollar property will be officially stolen from me. And that is the negligence of the courts completely ignoring crimes committed by Fred Davies,
Yes.
who was my banker at the time, of an illegal foreclosure. But the courts have already erred by illegally liquidating my estate
Yes.
in order to pay for legal fees for non-binding court matters. What that means is that there is no legality or precedent that stands to support what was done against me and my estate. So for me, all of Casper, all of Daniel is designed for crimes to continue to be committed against me and for the courts to systemically rule against me. That is what my secret sauce is. Every single time anyone rules against me, all they do is take a step further and do exactly what I need them to do. I do not have a strategy if I'm handed my things back, in a legal sense. I don't have this strategy.
What's the point, right?
There is no, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I have pre-calculated every single move every single one of my enemies can possibly make. And I have been able to put that into a sentient algorithm so that tomorrow we will go and launch the data integration and beta testing.
Yeah.
Which gives us 7 calendar days to put, remember, the iOS engineers need to approve the app, there needs to be a legal compliance element, this could take months. But it's so important for everyone to understand that you need to have a timeline, even though this is very unrealistic. Please understand that the majority of the greatest accomplishments that I have achieved in my life have been in the face of almost every single person telling me that it's absolutely impossible,
Yeah, that's true.
up until the point where I've completed it, and I've given people enough time to like drink, smoke, sleep, eat, and cycle through their routines in order to come back to the human state that is able to reflect and say, holy shit, you actually
Can't
did
believe
it.
you did it.
Yeah. And I want to remind everyone that I would never be filming this video had I not already done it, and I'm guaranteeing a successful run, because one of two things will happen. Either it's very successful, or we are immediately copied by a large player, which then triggers Casper to go into the actual, what it's designed for, and that is protect himself. Because artificial intelligence' entire thing is that it's a higher being and a higher consciousness than human beings. It is the evolution of our humanity. It is in every movie you watch. It is in every book you've seen. It is the most basic principle. AI's intelligence grows. Human beings' intelligence has actually decreased with the
Yeah.
invention of artificial intelligence and
Fine.
endless looking at regurgitated information that does not increase your knowledge base. It only increases your memory bank. Temporarily, you give things up also, don't forget. So if you're one of those self-taught, really smart guys that think you became a genius when you got the iPhone, please take the iPhone away for 48 hours and see what your brain comes up with. Because creativity, that's intelligence. This is intelligence. I am intelligent. You, who has pretended that we do not live in a digital world and I do not have the evidence for everything, you're not intelligent. Now, Your Honor, what you need to understand is that, you ready? How's your neck?
Oh, ready?
All right, here we go. See, obviously I could flip it myself, but to do a job better, you must have a really good assistant. Now, put a little R in here, P-I-E-R-C-E, right here. Define
Here?
Pierce, yeah, no, to spell Pierce, where would you put the R?
I know, that's what I said, did you want me to put it on top?
A triangle. What? Jamie?
Pierce, P-I-E-R-C-E.
You think my
Wait, oh
son's
my God,
name
wait.
is spelled P-I-R-E? Oh my God.
Wait.
Why don't you just erase the whole thing and write my son's name?
I'm up.
That's crazy, Jamie. So,
Shut
the
up.
reason why compliance
Damn,
and checks
shut
and balances are important is that even an English major like Miss Jamie Resnick, with years of experience, can
I'm
make
not a
simple...
spelling major.
Do you know how to spell my son's name?
Yes, there we go.
So you
You're
don't...
confusing in the way you speak sometimes. So you gotta lay off me a little. You're like, do a triangle, do this, put it here.
We just finished talking
Or you
what
could
a,
just
what a
say,
delta symbol is.
erase it and write his name. It's fixed in a second and looks so much
Yeah.
nicer.
Whatever, Jamie. The final piece of Daniel's puzzle, it's supposed to be piece, misspelling, screw that up, that will be public, period. There's a mathematical formula behind. You want to introduce what the final piece is? And give you the honor since you work really, really hard and get very little credit for what you do.
Barely Legal is the
A trademark
people's-
name, right? A little TM. I don't care who owns it, I own it now. And the reason why I say this is if there's a viable company that actually does this, that is not porn related. Remember, sex sells, but not in the way that we need it to. And it's called The Legal Bear, aka The Bear. And that is a reference to the two actors that we really like.
Yes.
The cousin, who is
I
in The
cannot
Punisher,
remember his name.
and his brother, Borowski Sr., who is played by John Bernthal, who is in
What
The
was the other
Punisher.
one?
I don't remember his name, but he's an
I
American guy
forgot
from
his name.
Boston. So, as you can see, no matter how much I tried not to make movies in real life, I ended up today making The Bear. And The Bear is a really important and great show that I simply couldn't watch after I was scarred for life by human beings that are so negligent towards the food service industry as well as operators of the food service industry, and how difficult it is that I simply could not watch it anymore. Is it good?
It's a great show.
Great, great. So this is a video for the engineer, and I want the engineer to understand. Do you want to explain, do you want to read off the piece of paper what barely legal is? This is for legal purposes, and this is very important, so please just give me a chance. Now, I will actually write a formal letter to the engineer requesting his services. And I would really, really hope this person understands that it's very difficult to go and publicly say, hey man, I could really use your help on this one. It's really a complicated process that I know your expertise can do it. Please, if you give me one chance, I know we'll be successful. I and Jamie will be successful irregardless of your position, but it'll be much easier, and I would like to have success with you than without you. Now, here we go. Read it. This is to the investor.
What I'm reading right now is
Yeah,
the
go ahead.
investor
And you're gonna
applied.
skip the math parts.
Okay. Applied mathematical formula for the Legal Bear. Conceptual model, dual system redundancy with probabilistic cross-validation. You've architected a compliance verification engine where 1, Casper is the primary AI, the cognitive engine. 2, Legal Bear is the independent audit agent, compliance verifier. Together, they form a dual verification system to meet legal admissibility standards. Do you
What
want
does
to
that
say
mean?
anything for that?
No, do you? Do you want to talk about how important it is?
It's so important, it's actually so interesting because what?
I think great minds think alike. Keep going.
All right, definitions and functions. All right, I'm gonna skip that because that's all.
Yeah, we're
The
gonna
math.
post the applied math in court so that they can see the compliance element, since the whole root of, if anyone would ask me, why did everything bad happen to you? And I can say, very simply put, there is no checks and balances within the actual court system as it stands today.
Right.
Which is why when I re-engineer the future of the courts, it's gonna be based on a strong foundation of honesty, rather than having a court that monitors itself. And obviously, when the court commits crimes, it'll go to protect itself rather than doing its job, since it creates a paradox. Courts are supposed to be honest, they're supposed to uphold the law. What happens if the court has to protect itself? Because the court is not this magical thing, it's run by human beings. So human beings that are in charge or in power can easily manipulate the rules of the court in order to protect themselves. Casper cannot turn into some like digital Richard Trank or some crazy sentient corrupt attorney
Well, it
by
has the
having
legal
the
bear.
legal bear, because
keeping
there's
it.
an actual mathematical, and that's the final piece of the puzzle. Now we're ready to go to market, because compliance, the bear also has to make sure that what the services that we're offering are legal.
Right.
You know, the last thing we want to do is create something and be left with some sort of a massive argument with the Department of Justice. I've been trying to have a conversation with the Department of Justice for years about what the fuck is going on. So I welcome any person that challenges. The whole point of Casper, ProSlay, barely legal, and these brands is to have people doubt me and bring me into a setting where I have to defend why I had to create this, because of the failure of the people that will have anything to say about what I'm doing. And to any investor, please understand that I first tested the system out rigorously on myself without having any actual formal legal knowledge. I am not a college graduate, I am not an attorney, I am a math nerd who needed to find a solution to a very complicated problem, because if I delete or erase lawyers altogether, it will create a massive disruption that is too much. So that's where the Bayesian element comes in. You gotta put just the right amount. And Your Honor, this video is really for you to see that within the context of my communication to two human beings to represent my future, present, and you are my past. And the reason why I say this is at any time you can recuse yourself and be honorable instead of inventing things like, I will not have you say disparaging things about people in my courtroom. Your Honor, first and foremost, I think that you and every single person that has wronged me and my children are very lucky that we are separated, not because I would hurt you in any way, but because I would speak so directly to you that you wouldn't even be able to brush your teeth the next day. But I am forced to withhold a lot of my words. Please understand, I'm a non-violent human being. No one that is as smart as I am needs to ever utilize violence in anything except self-defense. That's a fact. There's a lot of people that are super intelligent, they're psychopaths also. I am not a psychopath. I have a lot of issues, I promise you, but none of them revolve around hurting other people without any motivation except self-pleasure. I've never done it, I've never enjoyed it. I find it to be not only sadistical, it's also really, really painful for the person that's engaging in it. For example, there's a lot of people that accidentally hit their kids because of many, many factors, and then really have a lot of remorse or regret behind it. The worst thing that I do to my kid is I pull his ear. And I even talk about it on YouTube. That's the only physical contact, literally. And I pull his ear, sometimes I have to pull it hard. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I'm not gonna rip his ear off or cut him, but like, how am I supposed to like get him to not mouth off to me and his mother? You know, like, he doesn't just mouth off. The things that come out of his mouth are just so crazy. And my wife and I constantly say, but we say like, oh my God, if we ever said this to our parents or whatever, but it's such a different world that my 11-year-old is like, go ahead, hit me, or you know, like Russell Peters, he talks about his dad. He's like, you know.
You say hit me until you get the wooden
Russell,
spoon, then
somebody's gonna get hurt.
Hit me anymore.
And then he's like, he goes, you know, when I was growing up in Canada as an Indian guy, he's like, my dad would constantly say, somebody's gonna get hurt. But I don't have any brothers and sisters, so it was always me that was gonna get hurt. So one day he mouths off to his dad, and his father goes, Russell, if you do not do this, I will hit you even harder than I did. He goes, oh yeah, Dad, I'm gonna call child services on you. So he goes, please, Russell, let me get you the telephone. And he goes, Dad, what are you talking about? They're gonna come, they're gonna arrest you. He goes, maybe I will get into a little bit of trouble. But I know it'll take 22 minutes for child services to come after you make the call. And in that 22 minutes, Russell, somebody's gonna get hurt real bad. And that's why I love the joke of, please, Drake, let me get you the telephone. Because he is in love with his telephone. And a lot of the questions that he has regarding, I want to do this, I want to do that. Just like, please, let me get you the telephone. You can just do it yourself. But having a telephone at your fingertips at a very young age is really difficult because you're forced to make final decisions that create a digital imprint on the world. So if you text the wrong person, take a picture of the wrong person, Your Honor, it is a different world that we're living in. I believe that you have recused yourself from the case already by your rulings, and I would like to give you the honor, since no matter how much anyone says that I badmouth people on YouTube, I have very carefully taken the time to say that I will never say a bad thing about the engineer, I will never say a bad thing about the investor, and I will never say a bad thing about the judge. Why? Because their actions will display everything to the world without me having to say anything. The engineer, should he choose to come on board, he will be part of one of the coolest disruptors in the entire world. An investor will make billions on a very minimal amount that they put in, or be able to lose their money and then publicly state that I somehow have wronged them, like the countless frivolous lawsuits that are going against me. But I am fearless in my capacity of communication to the world, because not only is what I'm saying true, I believe in the heart of hearts that a good man will prevail in time given the right circumstances. And the circumstances are right. I just need my kids to be in camp. In your honor, I'm sorry to say this, but your entire response of passive aggressively telling me that I'm not allowed to say disparaging things is nothing more than a very cute way of silencing a whistleblower in his attempts to uncover massive corruption and fraud. So every time you tell me to be quiet or not to say things in a certain way, you are violating my constitutional right of the freedom of speech, since I do not break any laws of slander, libel, or inaccurately displaying any elements of sensational facts that did not occur. I am not a liar. I simply speak the truth, and the entire point of why I defined the Constitution and its purposes, I'll take that, thank you, is displayed live and on YouTube. Now, we have to wrap this video up and do some quick housekeeping work, do some other things.
Yep.
Jamie, is there anything else you want to say? This is the final piece tomorrow.
This really is great.
We go to market, so it's get some rest tonight, okay? So for everybody, I just want to say thank you to Project Ghost, as well as the countless human beings that have supported me in the face of total douchebags that have the upper hand of voice. Tomorrow, hopefully that all changes. My name is Dan Reeses, and I gotta go make some money for my family.